Good evening. Hello to everyone. Welcome to the webinar on Explore the Metaverse, Addressing Challenges and Future Opportunities. I'm Himanshu and I'm delighted to have you all here today. Are you ready to dive into the Metaverse? It's the virtual world where millions of people live, work, shop, learn, and interact with each other, all from the comfort of their own devices. If, in case you are living under a rock, here are some facts for you. The metaverse is like a futuristic amusement park. It includes a central conference room, a virtual board, and digital monorails that new hires use to travel to different exhibits. The metaverse is not just about gaming and socializing, it is also changing the way we work, shop, and learn. In fact, approximately 60% of consumers are excited about the transition of everyday activities like shopping, dating, and working out to the metaverse. Metaverse had a moment in 2021. Even the internet searches peaked by 7,200% to this year. And once people get the gist of it, most of the people are already in for a hell of a ride. The metaverse is not about escaping reality, it's about embracing and augmenting it with virtual content and experiences that can make things more fulfilling and make us feel more connected to our loved ones and more productive at work and happier. The metaverse is a future of digital connection. It is a single, shared, immersive, persistent 3D virtual space where humans experience life in ways they could not in the physical world. So, are you ready to explore the metaverse and get ready for a wild ride? It is a dynamic, open, and interoperable space, much like the internet, but in 3D. It is a vision of what many in the computer industry believe. It's the next iteration of the internet. It is a broad shift that is inspiring tens of billions of dollars in new investments and prompting predictions that the metaverse is the future of internet or the next internet battleground. So buckle up and welcome our first in-house research team member. Joining today's webinar is my colleague Achal Agrawal. With career spanning almost a decade, she is headlining the research consultant team in ICT and is one of the key members of the TechSci family with rich experience in management consulting. She looks after the emerging technology division, covering Web 3.0, metaverse, cybersecurity, and is an important part of the family. Over to you, Anchal.
Thank you, Himanshu, for such a warm welcome. Himanshu already spread some light on Metaverse. This is a brief introduction about Metaverse. Basically, what is Metaverse? Metaverse is the emerging 3D enabled digital space that uses various technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain to allow people to have lifeline personal and business experiences online. The rise of metaverse has been driven by emergence of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, blockchain, as well as their expanding applications through numerous industrial sectors. If we talk about globally, then North America is currently the dominating region due to higher adoption of metaverse and related such technologies. The increase of startups focusing on developing commercial metaverse platform is another factor launched to promote the regional markets revenue growth as well as the government initiatives in order to ease business adopt metaverse. For that reason, the metaverse is growing in North America and across the globe. This is the survey done by TechSci Research recently, where the number of respondents were 500, and first question asked were, have you heard of Metaverse? It was delight shockful that only 33% of the respondents were said that they were familiar or use it regularly. 29% of the respondents said yes, they are somewhat familiar and have some experiences of metaverse. Around 20% of the respondents said they have not heard of the term metaverse. Next slide, Manshu. Second question was, what business leader think of metaverse? The respondent size was same. Around 41% of the respondents said that the metaverse will revolutionize business, creating a greater economy. Around 27% of the respondents said yes, it is a good social platform and our company will treat it like a current platform that they'll use metaverse in their own company. 22% said that it is the next incarnation of the metaverse. 7 to 3%, around 10% of the respondents said that they will never use metaverse. It's of no use. Third question asks what which of the following statements about the metaverse do you believe is most likely? Around 65% of the respondents said that they worry about the societal impact of metaverse. Around 58% of the respondents said that it is a place where younger people can explore themselves. Around 37% of the respondents said the metaverse offers the opportunity to be more creative in a virtual world. 24% just respondents said that a true metaverse won't be achieved in next 10 years, that it will take more efforts, 20 to 30 years we have to take to metaverse to be really in a better position. This is the major challenges the adoption in the adoption of metaverse as per the business leaders perspective. As per the business leaders, the major challenge is the cyber security. This we have discussed in our last webinar, the major challenges of cyber security in metaverse. 75% thought that privacy risk is the major challenge. Then regulatory uncertainty, property concerns are other challenges which business leaders thought yes that can be impact metaverse. Then challenges in terms of customer perspective, the respondent size was same as 500. Privacy is one of the most important concern currently the respondents are facing while adopting metaverse. 76% thinks that risk of being hacked is another major concern, lack of regulation, and 43% of the respondents don't know what are the benefits of metaverse currently. This is the small representation of metaverse framework where the user can be gamer or any other listener where and we can see that where there are various technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, and for amalgamation of these there is a need for VR, AR, blockchain and other technology and hardware such as computer, phones and more. This immersion gives an experience which is formed through a combination of virtual sound and technology.
Okay. So next speaker that we have for today's event is Mr. Gaurav Gupta. He is a gaming entrepreneur and a co-founder of Avatar Life. Avatar Life is a metaverse experiential company building games, experiences, and avatar-based products across different platforms. Over to you, Gaurav.
Hi, thanks for that introduction, Ivanshu. I'm honored to be here. So before I tell you guys why Avatar might cost you a future Europe vacation 5 years down the line, let me introduce you to model Emma. So Emma is from Japan. She's a Japanese model. She first got a break in 2018, and she was termed as a new 100 talent to watch by the Japanese media. She has done ads for a lot of big brands like Porsche, Nike, Dior, Amazon, IKEA. She's a fashion influencer. She creates content around fashion, but she's also very vocal about her thoughts on race, environment, gender, and she's seen on TV, she's seen online, you name it. But there's one other thing that you should know about Emma, and that is she's not real. So she has 400,000 influencers on Instagram, and all of which might be real, but she only exists on the internet through a digital means. So what intrigued me was how did we really get here? So let me just take a step back and take you on a mini trip of how internet and how visual technology has evolved over the past 2 3 decades, so that you're able to better understand what might be coming, and how things are evolving, how things are shaping up. uh, so if we start from 1991 to 1994, you can see the websites were very simple. It was only text based, no colors, no designs. We can call it one dimensional for practical purposes. And then from 1994 to 1998, we saw some designs, some color coming in, but not a lot of images, not a lot of 2D content coming in. And this was the time when some of the larger giants like Amazon, Google were formed. Then 1998 to 2002, we saw bigger websites. We saw more images coming in, although the loading speed was really slow. So one of the key things that is really important and that not a lot of people talk about is the loading speed. Right, I'll go into that a little later on. But this was the era we saw more designs and more images coming in, complex websites coming in. And then was the social media era from 2002 to 2010. And this was the time when internet really took off. This is the time when we really experienced internet at our homes in India as well. And we saw videos coming in, we saw YouTube, we saw Facebook, we could upload images. So we had more complex websites, faster images, faster websites coming in. And this was also the time when the world's first metaverse, so Second Life, I don't know if how many people have heard of it, but Second Life, which was the world's first metaverse, was launched in during this decade. And then 2010 to 2020, we did not see a lot of changes in terms of design, but we saw a lot of responsiveness. The design websites became more beautiful, and it was the era of mobile computing. So we moved from laptops to mobile, and we saw some 3D experiences coming in. We also saw headsets like Oculus, Magic, all of these things being launched. Some 3D experiences, but not a lot. And now this decade is what will really transform the metaverse, which will really transform the internet. We have one of the key things which I think is the biggest enabler for this is 5G. So as you know that CD, we don't use CDs. The only reason we buy CDs today is for games, and because games are pretty heavy. And now with 5G, with speeds like 600 Mbps, you can actually stream games. So cloud computing is becoming a big thing. Gaming CD business is a dying business now, and this will truly transform. So the whole idea that you are able to broadcast or stream a metaverse on your device at that high speeds, so that it feels real and everyone is in the same place at the same time. So that is what we will see in this decade, and this is what we call a metaverse, a truly collective, truly immersive virtual space. So a metaverse, what is a metaverse? So for me, I see metaverse, it has three broad components from the way I see look at metaverse. And first is the platform. So platform is the place where people enter, and this is the place, this is like a mall. So if you were to imagine this, so this is like a mall in which you go, and then you have experiences are small experiences within the 3D space. So it could be, these are like shops in the mall, and there could be a metaverse with one single experience, or there could be metaverse with multiple small experiences like Decentraland or Roblox, right? These are all platforms. And then there are experience companies which build experiences like decentral games. Even we build experiences on some of these platforms. We have our own platform as well. And the third is avatar. Avatar is your eyes, is your digital twin, your digital identity. It's the way you experience this whole metaverse. So let's imagine if you were living in a simulation, and if all of this is a metaverse, then your body is an avatar. So that's how I like to put it. And yeah, so I'm Gaurav. I'm the co-founder of Avatar Life. In Avatar Life, like I said, we've been working on all three components of the metaverse. And one of the things that we've been working on is the avatar technology. So basically enabling users to create themselves, to represent themselves in a 3D space, and then take that avatar to multiple places. It's one of the key themes, that interoperability that we talk about. So that's part of this whole theme that we're building. But the idea is to enable users to represent themselves in any way they want, right? So now when I say the word avatar, right? So what's the first thing that comes to your mind? uh, I'm sure a lot of you will remember some blue weird blue creatures in the Hollywood, right? So I think that's our first that's the first way we remember Avatar. But even I was surprised, and you'll be surprised to know that avatar actually is a Sanskrit word which comes from avatara, and it's the origins is the Hindu religion in which Bhagwan ke avatar hote the. So that's how the word is used, and that's how the word came into being. But that word did not find a lot of usage in historical texts outside of Hindu religion until 1980s and 1990s, when Hollywood and gaming companies actually picked it up, and that's how we use the word avatar as we know today. All right. And so Avatar, uh, it's a very huge market. So if you look at the total 3D avatar market today itself, so that's like $45 billion, which includes games. So let's say FIFA, right? So all of the avatars that you have in FIFA, that's part of this market, and it's growing at 33% year on year, and it's supposed to reach 180 billion by 2027. Fun fact: uh, David Beckham earns more from his avatar playing in these games than what he used to earn when he was actually playing. So that's the scale. That's how huge this market is. And most of this market is within avatar market. Also, you can break it up into humans and non-humans. So human market is around 75 to 80%. Most of the things we know is human avatars, but then there are non-human avatars as well, which includes animals and dragons and stuff like that. So human market is growing at 35%. It's a $35 billion market today, expected to reach $150 billion in 5 years down the line. And now coming on to the most interesting part. So within avatars also, you can break the market into two. So there's a whole spectrum of human avatars also. So let me actually pull up a slide which will help you understand better. So on the scale itself, so there are avatars which go from stylized, so which is the abstract, to realistic avatars. So that's the whole spectrum of avatars that we see in the market. And we have been working on both. So but my personal interest area is in stylized avatars. So stylized avatars is an $18 billion market today, growing at 29% year on year, is supposed to reach $65 billion in by 2027. And but it's growing small, a little growing not as fast as the realistic market. The realistic market is growing because most of the big techs like Facebook, right? They are trying to focus on the realism side of things, because one of the trends that we see in the market is, if you look at the age, right? So kids tend to prefer stylized avatars, and adults tend to prefer realistic avatars. So there's a whole spectrum of how बच्चों को कार्टून देखने हैं, and then as you grow up, people want adults, people want realistic avatars. And because these people are highly paying, adults are more likely to spend on stuff. Most of the big techs are focusing on that, and also it's more technically challenging. The other thing is, from a gender perspective also, we see difference. So females tend to prefer stylized avatars because they look cute, you can customize them. And males tend to prefer realistic avatars, and that's what we've seen in the market. And yeah, so what we're seeing in this market is, users want uniqueness in terms of how they are able to customize their avatars. There are a lot of brands that are coming up: Nike, Gucci. They have their own virtual wearables, NFTs launching. People want more sophisticated avatars, and a lot of people, like 75% of Americans, want to build a digital life. They want to spend on stuff. Even on our platform itself, we see around 15 to 20% of the spend that people do is on is on things like clothes, and is on things like here in our metaverse. And for that, people are willing to spend. People are spending a lot of money on these things, and uh, they want uniqueness, and direct to avatar economy is also booming. So if you look at stuff like PUBG, so 45% of PUBG sales are vanity items. So vanity items is items that don't help you with the gameplay, right? So a lot of spend is on that. But everything goes to when, like, if we don't meet the third part, which is interoperability. I think this is the crux of the whole metaverse theme. So people want consistency in their identity. So if I buy a cloth in a particular metaverse, I want to be able to wear that particular clothing item in some other metaverse as well. I wouldn't want to buy different clothes in different metaverse. I wouldn't want to buy, spend multiple times. Then people won't spend at all. Like, if I want to go to three metaverses, and if I can't keep my stuff from one metaverse to another, they won't spend at all. And I think that's the whole idea of interoperability, and people wanting this consistency in their identity across virtual world. So let me give you an example. Let's say there is a person who identifies as gay, right? So he can buy rainbow or pride colored clothes in one metaverse, but he might not, but those options might not be available in some other metaverse. So they want that, otherwise they won't be going there, because then it doesn't make sense for them, because they don't want to change their identity across metaverses. And that's a key theme that we have been focusing on. That's a key theme that industry is pushing for. But there are still a lot of challenges which remain. One is beating the subconscious mind. So achieving realism is more difficult than it seems. And humans, like, from an image, it might be easy to not, it might be difficult to figure out what's an avatar, what is not. But if you move it around, if you look at like an avatar from a 360 degree, it becomes very obvious that the person is not real, and it kind of gives a vague feeling, a negative feeling to humans. So that's called the uncanny valley. And we are still away from that, but achieving realism is one of the key challenges. The idea is, if I go to a metaverse, right, and if I look at Himanshu's avatar, I should be able to say, hey Himanshu, what's up, right? So that's the idea that we want to achieve. You should not he should not tell me that he's Himanshu. I should just look at him and say, okay, he's Himanshu, right? So that's real realism that we want to achieve in the metaverse. The second is accessibility and inclusivity. I think this is going to be a very big challenge, because industry is focused on very basic things at the moment. But giving representation to all users, such as people with physical disabilities, or people with, some other sort of things which we're not able to offer them right now. So that might be a challenge. They will not be able to represent themselves in the way they want in the metaverse. So that's a key problem. And third is obviously privacy and security. So because I can take a picture of anyone in this webinar and create a 3D avatar out of them, right, and I can just go to a metaverse and represent. So identity theft will take a completely different dimension when you talk about avatars and metaverse. So yeah, these are the challenges, but hopefully we'll get there. I think the whole industry is working towards it. So I'm sure we'll get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav, for giving us information about the key major aspects of metaverse and the etymology for the word avatar, that how it originates and what it refers to. Moving on to our next speaker for today's webinar is Nolene. She's an impact entrepreneur and advisor. She's also the founder of Impactoverse, Safa Global, and co-founder of ThinkOcean. In Impactoverse, she's acting as an impact engagement ecosystem, increasing inclusion and access, allowing for agencies, brands, and influencers to align with causes, build community, improve earnings, and impact outcomes while bridging the gap from Web 2 to 3.0. Welcome, Nolly.
Thank you so much for having me, Himanshu. It's such a pleasure to be here and to be addressing you guys listening in. Gaurav, thank you so much for that overview of the metaverse. I think that creates a great context for everyone and just allowing for them to see how it is that, outside of what is going on and what the trends are, how it is that people can get more involved. My focus today is really looking at how business can align with impact within the metaverse. So, some of these trends are working toward more human centric approaches, looking at impact, looking at values. And I know Gaurav spoke about privacy, things like identity theft. Those are all important concerns. And, these are things that businesses need to be looking at and considering when they're focused on how it is that they pursue their long-term interest in the metaverse, because it's no longer going to be just about one-off experiences. It's going to be about how do we actually create community within that space? How do we engage? And how do we build both for social and environmental outcomes, but also for business outcomes, right? So we can move on to the overview of what I'll be covering today. We'll be looking at the evolving nature of consumer behavior, because that drives everything that business.
Hi, Nolene. Looks like that you're on mute because we can't hear you. Manshu, can you just check with her?
Yeah, I'm trying to check that. Wait, let me remove and add her again. I think that we are facing some difficulty related to the overall interface. Hmm, wait, let me do one thing. Okay, let me call out. Nolin, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
I think she is.
I think she can hear us, but we can't hear her.
Okay, we'll continue looking into this. In the meantime, we move.
It's. I think she is facing problem in her net.
Yes. Okay, so let me contact Nolin on that. Moving on to you, Rahul. Rahul is the founder of Metaverse 911, which is a company specializing in helping businesses to unlock the potential of Metaverse. Welcome to you, Rahul.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Gaurav, it was unique because when I heard what you're doing in the avatar life, we are connected with each other. Somehow, I didn't know the kind of things that you're doing. So good to know what you're doing. And yeah, and Nolene, once she's back, also we hear about what she's doing and the impact to us. Um, so, do you want me to share my screen, Manshu? Okay, share my
Yeah,
screen.
mm, just give me a sec.
I can share my screen, no problem.
Yeah, yeah, you can. You go ahead.
Right.
Yeah, I have found you.
So, well, with the yeah, if you can just add me to the screen, yeah, thank you. Um, well, what I'm going to talk about is the basics of the metaverse and the opportunities that exist for the business leaders, primarily since because we work very closely in terms of creating use cases and um, and at the same time, we also work very closely with companies who are wanting to actually create metaverses for alternate revenue, generation and things like that. Um, just like the way Gaurav said, we have over a period of time as we have all improvised on our communication, um, whether we call it a whether we call it a uh, excuse me, whether we call it in a way that we have consumed content a lot in 2D and we are now ready to get into 3D. But there is a huge population of Gen Z, Gen Alpha, who are experiencing gamification already, done by the brands. So I will categorize this experience in terms of usability as being one very important aspect of the metaverse is that it's a freewheel navigation. Because considering the actual metaverses exist, most of where you can go and just explore. So whether you're going to Decentraland or Sandbox, you have all the ability to go and roam around and go and access what you want to access, consume content the way you want. So with right human-like avatars, there is a possibility for creating reasonable, reliable social connections too. At the same time, brands will be looking at creating gamified experiences, hence creating revenue for their business line. Whether is it apparel for an avatar, or could be a phygital apparel in the form of NFTs, where one of the NFTs could be one of the apparels could be created as NFT um, on the on the Metaverse platform. But at the same time, you can also look at doing the same thing as physical delivery of the item. There are many types of metaverses, though, but I think from a backend perspective, mostly what we've seen is being centralized, which means run by one company on a centralized server, whether GPUs or KVM based, but whether Amazon or Azure, or maybe for that matter, utilities for cloud services and things like that. But decentralized metaverses are very few, and the ones that really make sense are very, very few. So yeah, I mean, a lot of companies have tried creating very complex decentralized metaverses. The problem is that unless and until the avatar will not resonate to the idea of experience that you're wanting to create for the end customer, a good metaverse strategy for choosing the good metaverse is going to be always available. Um, hence, Gaurav's business makes a lot of sense because I believe that no metaverse can be chosen just because they offer you a real life, real near digital twin kind of infra like the likes of spatial and things like that. But yeah, the avatars have to be reasonably like kind of fully resonate to that particular idea. So how have companies how have companies replaced the experiences in the metaverse? I'm going to play out this video. This is a Sunset City. I just recently got this video, and we'll just play it out for the audience people here. Now, building this on a Roblox is pretty good trend. It seems like that most of the brands are actually going into Roblox. Whether it was Nike, Sunsilk, Walmart, and many others, most of them are going there. But Decentraland also is gaining a lot of popularity. This is what I have seen in the last say a month or two because I keep on going and visiting Decentraland pretty often. Um, it looks like that a lot of new brands are coming up and creating stores. But the problem with the experiences on any metaverse platform is always going to be traffic. So that is something which I believe companies will sort of try to focus on. There are also digital twins and areas in the B2B space that makes a lot of sense. So this was the BMW's group facility, which was created long time back. This is not a new project. It's a project which is about a year old or so, but makes a lot of sense also. So I just play out B2B as well, and this is going to be from the time they started working on it once they launch it in the sense when they go live with all these things in the next 1 or 2 years, you will see that this will bring a paradigm change in the way we've thought around business to business metaverses. Just playing it right away.
The world's industries are accelerating digitalization with over $3.4 trillion being invested in the next 3 years. We at BMW strive to be leading edge in automotive digitalization. With NVIDIA Omniverse and AI, we set up new factories faster and produce more efficiently than ever. This results in significant savings for us. It all starts with planning, a complex process in which we need to connect many tools, datasets, and specialists around the world. Traditionally, we are limited since data is managed separately in a variety of systems and tools. Today, we've changed all that. We are developing custom Omniverse applications to connect our existing tools, know-how, and teams all in a unified view. Omniverse is cloud native and cloud agnostic, enabling teams to collaborate across our virtual factories from everywhere. I'm about to join a virtual planning session for Debrecen in Hungary, our new EV factory opening in 2025. Let's jump in.
Milan is joining.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Milan. Great to see you. We are in the middle of an optimization loop for the body shop. Would you like to see?
Thanks. I'm highly interested. And I'd like to invite a friend.
Sure.
Hey, Milan. Good to see you.
Jensen, welcome to our virtual planning session.
It's great to be here. What are we looking at?
This is our global planning team who are working on a robot cell in Debrecen's digital twin. Matthias, tell us what's happening.
So we've just learned the production concept requires some changes. We are now reconfiguring the layout to add a new robot into the cell.
Okay, but if we add a new robot on the logistics side, we need to move our storage container.
All right, let's get this new robot in.
That's perfect. But let's double check. Can we run the cell? Excellent.
Milan, this is just incredible. Virtual factory integration is essential for every industry. I'm so proud to see what our teams did together. Congratulations.
We are working globally to optimize locally. After planning, operations is king. And we've already started. To celebrate the launch of our virtual plant, I'd like to invite you to open the first digital factory with me.
I'd be honored. Let's do it.
This is not something which is going to be easy when it comes to. But I think a lot more easier use cases. Some of put this up for remote collaboration. That is with KPMG. Straight out for you. many cases, what you would realize is that whether can the metaverse experience be related to what you do, and then you want to just let the world know what you do. It's always going to be it's always going to be something that's so exciting that every genre should be able to that applies in your business. I mean, every genre of the customer that applies into your business cycle per se must be able to relate themselves with the experience. So, as an example, if a brand wants to say that, hey, I want to go create my virtual store for people to buy in the metaverse, my question to them is going to be, okay, why would somebody want to buy? Because somebody wants to buy a physical product, then go to Flipkart of the world. Why will he go into the metaverse experience? Because there, mostly the avatar-based merchandising will be available. So in that case, you can always create a convention, like so what those activities, the two activities sort of center, some kind of a nice hall where you can always play. You can always run campaigns which are primarily around, say, 7 forms of dances, and you can invite your end customers to come and learn dance. And when they want to come into it and they want to learn dance, at that point you can always engage with them. So there's a brand recall engagement and so on and so forth. Because ultimately you're giving something to them and for them to go into your actual physical store to go buy. So it's not like every time you have to think about just replicating what you do and tell the world in a more informative way. There has to be an excitement built in it, thrill in it, some adventure in it, some mystery in it. Whenever you do something in the metaverse, try to be creative enough, to let the world know that you are creatively inclined towards connecting with the brand. Um, while there are a lot of B2B cases, there is also one last example of the marketing example that I'll excuse me, the employee onboarding example that I'll like to show you. This has been done by Kotak Mahindra Bank, and I'll just play this video of it. In essence, there is a lot of areas where we can utilize the experiences to convey what we want to do with our employees, customers, suppliers, and so on and so forth. Hence, the metaverse application per se is not limited to just, like I said, any one idea. You can always build on ideas, and I can speak on this for hours and hours, on different types of concepts, things like that. But since we're spending time for the kindness as well, so I pretty much have finished here. Any questions by the audience, most welcome to take them. And thanks so much, Manshu and Achal, for inviting me here again. And over to you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Again, all the presentation and the employee onboarding experiences that you shared with us. It was really kind of you. I would like to quickly go back to Nolene to check whether. So,
Can you
yeah,
hear me now? Is that
yeah, I
fine?
can. We can.
Okay, fantastic. So take two. Let's hope this works well this time round.
Right.
So once again, happy to be here and sharing. I don't know where exactly I cut off, so I'll just start at the beginning. The focus and what it is I'm focusing on today is really looking at some of the ways in which businesses can arrive at longer term outcomes in the metaverse. So how is it that you drive greater engagement, really allow for people to be able to associate your brand with something that they're interested in, so that they're motivated to support you in some way, so that you can increase your ability to have a presence in the metaverse in a way that's meaningful. Because engagement is, one of the, as Rahul also mentioned, that's one of the biggest challenges and factors is what exactly gets people to come to you, and why is it that they would take that step of getting into this virtual world to be able to engage with you. So I'm going to be focusing on aligning with values and impact aligned strategies, human centric approaches, and how that can support in driving some of your business outcomes in the metaverse. So, Himanshu, great, thank you. So, overview of what it is I'll be talking about today. The evolving nature of consumer behavior, that really is the focus of most business. What is relevant to consumers in the market right now, or what is going to be, so that when you're there or when you're launching, you're already there when consumers get there. So looking at some of those consumer trends, human-centric metaverse evolution and what exactly that means, some impactful use cases. And Rahul, thank you for sharing there. Some of the use cases as well, strategies for values aligned growth, as well as the opportunity and what it is that's actually going to come next. Right. So changing consumer behavior. We're finding now, every business that you look at, when you look at most of the ads, almost every business is now talking about the impact that they're having, right? It wasn't really a thing a few years ago. Nobody knew what sustainability meant something different. No one really knew much about the SDGs. No one knew anything about ESG. And now every business is pitching it in some way or the other. Greenwashing is, a thing. People now know what that is. And the reason for this is because an increasing number of consumers actually care about what it is that's going on in the world, in the environment, with other people in other parts of the world. And they want to be able to make a difference, and they want for their money and their consumer choices to be able to motivate businesses to stand up for what they feel is good and right. So consumers are supporting brands who are aligned with their values, and a lot of these values, now the trend is towards social and environmental impact. Brands that are impacting globally as well, so where they're making a significant mark in the world. And that is what is motivating consumers, if they can see the difference that's being made. Consumers are no longer wanting to be just passive recipients anymore. And this is, we have to take trends that are in the real world and then also look at how that adapts for wanting to drive engagement in the metaverse. They're wanting to have more engaged, meaningful, personalized experiences. And this is why when Gaurav was talking about avatars, we see why that is so important. People want for it to be meaningful to them. And for example, you spoke about the interoperability. If something is meaningful in one space, it's meaningful for them everywhere. It's part of their identity. They're wanting for it to be personalized. And they're wanting to have an emotional connection And that emotional connection is what actually builds brand loyalty and creates longer term, a longer customer lifetime value or greater customer lifetime value. And of course, we saw the transition and moving from Web 1 and, onto Web 2, now what is considered Web 3.0, and, who knows what comes next. But we are moving toward a more, greater use of technology with an increased emphasis on accessibility, which within the metaverse, of course, is a fantastic concept, but also presents numerous challenges. And I think, Gaurav, you had mentioned some of the challenges around accessibility. So we move on to the human-centric metaverse evolution. Himanshu, if you don't mind moving along there, thank you. So we're seeing now that it's not just about sci-fi and it's not just for gamers. There's this level of inclusivity that is starting to almost become a part of what is driving the wave and what is driving the movement. And that's very much, what is it? Like, why should people get involved? So if it's not a part of what they usually do, if they're not a gamer, if they're not usually online, what is it that's actually going to motivate them to get there? And so the focus is on actually building experiences that allow for some real connection, that allow for us to look at, why is it important? Why should somebody step over that barrier, get involved, and what difference does it make? What difference does it make to them, both within the virtual space and within the real world? And of course, also looking at personalized and user-centered design. So this again, taps into the nature of consumers, but this is what this is also guiding the direction that all of this is taking, that it's personalized, that we're focusing on. It's not just a game that is decided on by a third party or a company, and they say, okay, this is something that could be really engaging for X number of people and we can get them hooked on it. Now it's becoming, okay, what is the value? What is going to be the outcome of people getting involved in this space? Why will it matter to them? How can it actually be personalized? And that user design and experience is becoming more important, especially when we're looking at how brands can align, because they want to be able to connect with their consumer base. And the way that you connect with your consumer base is by allowing for it to be something which truly taps into who they are and their identity. Ethical data practices, safeguards, and regulations. Gaurav had spoken about this as well. There are huge concerns, and this is why there is a move toward looking at how do we create safer spaces? How do we address data and privacy issues? And these are not challenges that we overcome overnight, especially considering the nature of the metaverse and Web3 and the fact that it is decentralized. So how is it that we actually start to look at some of these challenges and overcoming them? But this is a trend in terms of the evolution of the metaverse, and looking at every business, when it looks at designing its experience, whether it's a one-off experience or whether it's part of an ecosystem, these are the types of things that they will need to be aware of, because this is what taps into what matters to your consumer base. And then, of course, inclusivity, empowerment, and outcomes. We talk about inclusivity and we talk about what it means that everyone can get involved. It allows for people to connect from different parts of the world, and that's great if the infrastructure is there to connect, right? So inclusivity, yes, we talk about the accessibility in terms of people who are disabled, but then we also have, for example, issues where we have power outages in large parts of the world. Data costs are exceptionally high, so how do we actually allow for that? And then we move on to impactful use cases. So I know I'm speeding through this, but there's a lot to cover, and hopefully we'll give you an overview of how you can get involved. So much collaborative innovation. Rahul covered went through some of those little videos, for example, BMW and how that they collaborate. But collaborative innovation where there are impact outcomes for more than just a single company is where it's at, where people can see real world value outside of just for that brand. That's what's becoming increasingly important. Immersive experiences, where people feel a part of it, and impact showcases and support. We're starting to see charity concerts. It moved from just online and now more around the virtual space, and how that can actually impact in the real world. Being able to go into a space and sponsor a tree and know that a tree is going to be built somewhere out is going to be planted somewhere out in the real world, and will be built within the virtual space to make that a place that's more enjoyable and that you can connect with. And of course, ethical AI for personalization. There's a lot around AI at the moment. There's more and more looking, at use cases of AI within the metaverse space, and really, it's about looking at how do we deploy that in a way which is ethical, allows for personalization, and adds value to the consumer experience. And values aligned growth strategies. Coming back to authenticity, trust, and transparency. We talk about this all the time. This is one of the major reasons that people have considered the Web3 space as one which is beneficial, because it allows for trust and transparency. But within the metaverse and within builds within the metaverse, this is a challenge, right? And it's a challenge for some of the reasons that a number of the speakers before me, both of the speakers before me, have spoken about as well. So one of the ways in which businesses can really start to show what they stand for, to highlight and build that trust and show transparency, is through aligning with impact, allowing for the activity that you have within the metaverse space to be something which really engages with your consumers and has real world value. Real world value is making a difference out there, and that is what builds trust. If people can connect through experiences which they feel relate to them and are considered human centric, through collaborations, actually being able to allowing for people from different parts of the world to come together to actually create value toward a common purpose. And really allowing for that common purpose to also be something which is not just within the virtual space, but has real world impact and real world value. And a large part of that involves us allowing for the education and the experiences to be ones where people come to understand both the benefits of getting involved within the space as well as the risks. And we need to be very open and honest and transparent around that, and evidencing the things that are happening. So, for example, you have, you buy a bar of chocolate. They talk about how it's the ingredients are ethically sourced, it's fair trade, it's whatever. You don't actually see any of that. You don't know where the farm is. You don't know anything about it. You're simply taking someone's word for it. Whereas this is allowing for that tangible commercial and societal view to come to the fore. And that's really part of what we're looking at developing within Impactoverse and the Metaverse of Impact. So if we move on then to what it is, what is the opportunity and what is it that comes next? And I'll get through that fairly quickly. Himanshu? Brilliant, thank you. So we're looking at an opportunity of that's approximately 5 trillion by 2030, which isn't far off. The opportunity also lies with cause marketing. So if you're looking at your business strategies within the metaverse space, cause marketing. And what that basically means is aligning with impact. Businesses are doing that right now anyway, but this allows for you to do it in a way in which your consumers can truly engage with what it is that you're doing. And that's the beauty of the metaverse. Engagement for results, your consumer base, your fan base can actually engage with what it is that you're doing behind the scenes, get to know what it is that you stand for. Extended reach, like there's so many businesses, so many solutions, so much out there that people don't have a clue exists, which could have a massive impact both for consumers as well as impact in the world. And the metaverse presents the opportunity for them to actually bring that to the fore, to increase reach and increase the audience. Immersive outcome-driven collabs, that was something which we saw earlier in the video as well. Shared benefit, that's massive. Most people are going to get involved if they feel like there's a benefit to them. And as a business, there needs to be a benefit to you too. So strategy has to be about shared benefit outside of just somebody buying your product. Trust and reputation building. This is a fantastic way to build trust and to build your reputation, because it allows for people to engage with you and what it is that you're doing in a more immersive way, in a way where they can actually connect. And building that customer loyalty in that way. This is what is actually going to drive and increase your business outcomes. So what comes next? There's an increasing move toward co-creation. Co-creation, looking at increased diversity, what is socially responsible, and part of that co-creation is also going to be looking, or where we start looking at interoperability, where people can actually look at what is created in different spaces being transferable between. Impact-driven purchasing, and this is linked to impact-driven engagement. That is what matters to people right now, and it's going to continue to be the case for a significant amount of time moving forward. Global ecosystems. This goes without saying. We already see so much happening within the space that is not just local, and it's about the ecosystem, which is global, being able to tap into experiences, opportunities, training, etc., whatever is available online, wherever it is in the world, and allowing for that to have local benefit. And that local benefit can be right down to the individual, or it can be community, but that is the way that things are moving. Empower digital identities, monetization channels. We're going to see so many more ways in which businesses, impact initiatives can monetize and can drive their outcomes, more around how it is that decentralized space actually benefits people and can benefit from the individual, and looking at individuals who were initially just passive but can now become a part of communities and earn from that. And of course, also, the Gen Z audience and what it is that matters to them, and how it is that actually drives business growth. Those are going to be the trends that we see, and we see continue to build out in the metaverse. And that is about it from me. So thank you very much. And sorry again for the tech glitch earlier on. Any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's my name, Nolene Mariapin. More than happy to talk through how it is that, the strategies that you could be employing, how it is that you take that first step, what this all means, and ways in which to collaborate with different organizations to be able to get the business and also impact outcomes that you want. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Nolene, for the presentation and what the other new opportunities in the space of metaverse. We do have received a number of questions from the attendees. So first one being, what are the potential benefits and drawbacks of using the metaverse for business operations? Gaurav, would you like to answer this?
Sorry, did you call my name?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So would you like to answer this? That what are the potential benefits and the drawbacks of using the metaverse for business operations? Last two speakers have shown us presentations about the collaboration that different companies are doing. How do you see that? Are there potential benefits to it, or are there drawbacks? And what is the overall scenario?
So I think in a work from home scenario, the way the labor market is also moving, it definitely has a lot of positive sides to it. So you can create a collaborative space where people can come in and they can talk about stuff, uh, and they can discuss, they can collaborate, they can have factories, the training can go online. There are a bunch of things that you can do, but on the flip side I also see that it's a lot of issue in terms of safety, like IP, the information that might be proprietary to a company that might go out. So I think that's a major concern. I would see if I were a company who is bringing my factory online, right? So that's one of the key things that I would look at. And outside of that, I also feel like uh, uh, it might not be always feasible, because it might be a little expensive also at this point in time, because the spaces are not truly immersive in a sense that people can actually feel they're there. So I think we're still a few years away from that, but it definitely has its positives when it comes to collaboration and sharing information within employees.
Okay. Nolin, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about some of those challenges in terms of the technology not necessarily having caught up with the concept of what we know can be possible within the space, and of course the prohibiting cost for a lot of companies, and also the ability for all employees wherever they might be able to access it in a way where we know it's truly accessible to all. So I think these are some of the challenges as well, outside of course privacy and data protection issues.
Okay. Gaurav, like you just mentioned about the high cost of overall high cost of deploying it, do you think of any of the challenges related to the adoption of metaverse if we go on to implement in the business operations?
Not none that I can think of. I think the major aspect that I have in mind will always be around data protection and privacy, like Nolene said, and also, like, we can't force fit a lot of these things. Just because we have a technology doesn't mean we have to force fit that. So it has to have a real use case, a real problem that it should solve for businesses, and collaboration is definitely one of them. With the labor market moving towards work from home, it's definitely something we can look at. But I think it, no other challenges outside of that. In terms of implementing, I think creation of assets could be a challenging thing, but with the kind of development I've seen in AI, the kind of tools that have come up in generative AI, the kind of tools where you can just click a picture and get a 3D model of stuff, I think that won't be a challenge that will remain for a longer time. So yeah.
Rahul, would you like add something to that?
The pros and cons of the metaverse. Yeah, there are so many areas where there's going to be so much of addition for say 10% of the total companies, or the 50 or 80% of the entrepreneurs and startups. Impact is huge. On the left hand side, you got all these corporates. 10% of them possibly as a notional number will apply inside the metaverse ecosystem. The rest 90% don't need to be there. If they want to just force fit themselves, that's a different thing. The other side is startups and the new age businesses, whether those are upcoming brands, sustainability related, or others, etc. All of them have a very reasonable fitment inside the metaverse. Compared to, is it important for us to go and think that okay, we just be there and create some presence over there No, it's all about engagement. So brand who want to do engagement should go into metaverse. The brands who don't need engagement should never get into it. And creating engagement is never one time. Creating engagement is always continuing. When I do LinkedIn lives, I do it every week, once or twice a week, and I've been doing it for 1 year. Only then I'm relevant. If I just do one LinkedIn live every 3 years, who cares? Who am I? So yes, similarly, if the other side is that well, but the brand, and this is very unforgiving business. I always say all of these businesses, NFTs, you want to release NFTs, you want to get into metaverse, you want to do certain things inside the metaverse, blah blah blah. All of them very unforgiving business because it will have a direct impact on your brand. You create a wonderful experience inside any metaverse, Roblox, Sandbox, decentralized fashion, blah blah blah. But when your people come and say, "Oh, this experience sucks," what happens then to your brand value? So you have to be very, very sure of what you do. There is no hurry. Think of it 100 times and then decide.
Okay. Uh, Nolin, just minutes back, you mentioned about that we need to make a metaverse accessible and inclusive. How
Yes.
can we do that? What would you like to say on that? How can
Yeah,
we?
this is a challenge, and I think it's not something that we do overnight, because it's something which also depends on the technology, right? And how the technology is built and what it actually allows for. Both in, I know we talked about 5G and how it will allow for more people to be able to access. But for example, if you can't, if you can't afford the data, if you don't have power, those sorts of things, it's challenging. And then of course, when you look at people who have disabilities and how it is that they can engage, and those all require solutions. So those all require certain certain ways of working to come into play, and certain solutions to come to the fore. So those are things which I believe that more people will continue to work on now that we're at the foundation of the metaverse and what it is, right? So as you start with the basics, and then you start to expand into looking at, okay, well, how is it that we create increased, allow for greater accessibility? How do we make it more inclusive? How do we allow for people, irrespective of what it is, where they are in the world, to be able to access? And looking at how it is that they can move between metaverse spaces as well, so that it's not exclusive areas. I mean, in some ways, some of the business applications will be exclusive, but that shouldn't mean that people are prohibited from actually being able to access the metaverse space. So the way that we overcome this is really from knowing and from being aware of the challenges that we currently face, and for driving solutions. And these solutions are going to come through entrepreneurs, from builders, from co-creators out in the space, and they're going to come from investors who are driving the agenda in that direction, and of course the consumer base who are demanding it. So it's not an overnight solution. It's something which we have to continue to work on and build on and maintain on the agenda. And actually, even if any individual person doesn't want it on the agenda, it just will be, because that is the nature of consumerism right now. So I know that I didn't answer the question, but I don't think there is an answer for it right now, unfortunately.
Okay, I'll come back to it. But you mentioned about movement in the metaverse space. Gaurav also added to that in the presentation that movement from one metaverse to other and having the identity. Again, whatever you purchase, let's say I have a T-shirt that okay, or I have a particular identity that I have in one metaverse. I would very much like to have that in another metaverse space that I will move to. So, what would you like to say about that, Rahul?
There are two ways by which you should look at the interoperability problem to solve. One is that the metaverses platforms say A, B, C, D. First of all of them are being built on different backend systems that power them. One could be a decentralized, one could be on any blockchain, whether Selenium or Decentraland or Ethereum and things like that. Yeah, on the other hand, you've gotten this centralized metaverse experiences with the likes of Roblox and others, say Spatial. So all of them, whether will they ever have some kind of a single sign-on that can result in me bringing my avatar into their ecosystem? It's a long shot idea. It's a long shot. The idea is a long shot, okay, because these are all different companies with different systems, different management, and everybody wants to make sure that their interests are secure in the short term, at least till the market develops to that extent. But there is a possibility of one of the avatar company or five of avatar company become a become a normal standard for every metaverse to opt. As an example, Ready Player Me. So Ready Player Me is now right now being integrated into many of the Unity applications, and Spatial also used that from day one. On day one meaning when they moved out of that half body avatar to a full body. So any any one, two, three, five companies I believe only more, but then what I'm just saying that from short-term perspective. I see that if there is a good company that can have a scalable infrastructure for having avatars getting integrated into custom metaverse platforms, you can expect this traffic or this problem to be solved through avatars. As an example, if one day not Sandbox, not Roblox, if one day let's say yeah, even not decentralized. Yeah. So interoperability, in my view, is not going to be solved throughout from a platform perspective. It will be more from an avatar company's perspective, and they will have to run through some solution. Gaurav, do you agree with me?
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you agree with me?
Kind of, yes. The way I see this moving is, I am sure, like, so like you said, that most of the bigger applications like Roblox, Facebook, they won't give this up. They will keep the data, they will keep all of that very close to their heart, very close to them, to protect their interests. But like you said, on the other hand, where you have blockchain based metaverses, right, Sandbox, or Spatial, or Decentraland, so all of them will always be open. And the whole idea of NFT is, which really excites me, is I can make an avatar and take that to Spatial, and I can make a metaverse and launch it in Sandbox without anyone's permission. So, with that in mind, I think there will be a bunch of metaverses which will open themselves up, and you can create avatars, you can take them in, but then there will be a tussle between like closed metaverses, like Facebook, like Roblox, who won't allow this. So, I definitely agree on that, but I would not want that to happen.
Till
So,
one day, till one day, companies like you will be the norm. Meaning that when Roblox says I want to go into a Roblox 2.0, now they want to invite select number of avatar companies to come and participate in those programs that can accelerate adoption of generalized, standardized avatars of different types and forms,
right,
hence bringing the creator economy play into their game.
that, yeah, yeah.
That I believe is one of the ways to create interoperability any which way. Because Khan, I heard I ban, from here or I hold it like this. Here is an here, end of the day. I should hold it.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking that one should go from this direction, this makes it more practical.
Hmm.
Rather than having decentralized talk to Roblox, which I don't think so.
Got it. I think the way protocols are set will be a major thing. So let's, for example, like www is a protocol, right? HTTPA is a protocol. So what that allows is anyone can create a website. So I don't need to ask for permission from anyone to make a website and launch it, and HTTP will just take that in. So if we have such sort of protocols coming to place, which I think most of the Web3 metaverses, Sandbox, what they're gunning for, then I don't think we'll have that idea where we'll get invited. It will just be an open metaverse where you can just make and go. But that depends on how protocols evolve. So that's something we are yet to see.
Perfect.
Okay. So look again, if we have to look it from the other point of view or from the other side of the table, what are the challenges do developers face for building applications on Metaverse? Nolene, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So I think, I mean, it's one of the things that we've been, or our development team has been facing as well. Things are evolving so quickly, and what is considered to be, useful, what the different options are within a space, what it is that's actually going to be viable from a financial standpoint for a business. Obviously, we're operating at the intersection of business outcomes and impact, so we're kind of straddling two lanes there. And one of the difficulties is the funding to actually allow for development, to to progress as it should. And the other thing is that the development space within the metaverse is a combination of development and creation, right? But creation in a different way. It requires a certain amount of creativity. And this is one of the things which I have seen sort of firsthand. It's actually being able to being able to develop and build with that creative mindset that is truly going to allow for engagement within the space. And for a lot of the developers that I've worked with who come from initially a purely development background rather than a design and creation background, this has been a challenge. And then, of course, outside of the technologies themselves, although things are changing, and there's sort of a lot more now in terms of the knowledge base has increased, the resources has increased and is continuing to increase, so that's becoming a little bit easier. And actually being able to work in that collaborative way to create these engaging spaces, because it's no longer something which just goes online, which people like they'd interact on a website in a very specific way. This is a lot more engaging, so it also takes a different kind of mindset. And I think those are some of the challenges outside, of course, of the funding, the gaining traction and engagement and everything else that comes with building in the space.
Good point.
Manchu, you're on mute.
Himanshu, you are on mute.
Yes. I do have one more question, and this is more like an open question for every one of you. And I found this over the internet. That do you think that because of the immersive experience, Metaverse is going to replace websites soon? What do you think about it?
I don't necessarily think that it will, until ease of use is as quick and as prompt as being able to access websites. I think what we need to consider is that we have to think of what the purpose is for each of these mediums, right? So if you're going to a website, why are you going to that website? Is it a quick search and to get some information? And will you be able to do that more quickly and more easily if you go into the metaverse and speak to an AI powered avatar? And what is it that would motivate you to do one or the other? So I think it really comes down to us really thinking about, okay, what is the purpose of the website, and can it be can that purpose be fulfilled by something happening in the metaverse in a way that the consumer feels it is easier, faster, better, adds more value, and is preferential to being able to access on a website. until that happens, which is not now, I don't think so. But yeah, I'll leave it to my peers to respond as well.
What do you think, Gaurav?
I completely agree with Nolin. So even I don't think that websites are going to go anywhere. Metaverse is just a way of experiencing some things that are not as fun on the website. So let's say if I want to buy something on Myntra, or if I want to buy something on e-commerce platforms, where do I get a better experience of seeing what I'm buying? Or let's say if I want to check out a car, so if I want to look at something, I want to uh, buy uh, uh, a bike, or some stuff which in which a metaverse, in which a website doesn't make sense, will definitely move there. But for other stuff like basic information that you want to search, Wikipedia, like why will I go to a 3D world with Wikipedia text? It makes more sense in 2D. It's like a book, right? So you still read a book, even though you are living in a 3D world. So that's, I think that's my answer. Yeah.
What do you think, Rahul, on that?
My take is that anyone who has asked me a question, if he's a business, does he have a shopping cart? Shopping cart also exists. And he can go and set up a shopping cart also on the website. But then why would he need it? So businesses don't need a metaverse solution. They need an information feed. Metaverse is all about fun, exciting stuff, something adventure, something thrilling, something which is non-information, information given in a very premium way. So within a 360 immersive 3D world, you are looking at interacting and creating more engagement. On a website, there's something called a bounce rate. Most of the websites have a bounce rate of 80%. Show it to me which metaverse has got more than 80% bounce rate. It's impossible. By the time the person figures it out where he has to go, it's already 10 minutes past. He started figuring out, okay, where to go and when to go. On a website, when was the last time when you went to any website, even your company website, and you spend 10 minutes looking around everything all the way to the footer? No. But if I create metaverse of the same tech sci-fi, company, what happens then? Then you go in, you're looking and you're going to find something. And what if you get something very exciting? You will stay back for 30 minutes. When you stay back for 30 minutes, so metaverse is an extension of the internet experience. It's not the internet. Internet is internet, website is website, Facebook is Facebook. Metaverse is an extension of the experience. Yeah. So there's no worry of digital marketing companies going out of business. In fact, a lot of digital marketing companies will also pivot themselves, represent it and knowledge over a period of time and say, hey, we also do something in the metaverse. But I think for the ones who really want to get into the metaverse as business, they must be very careful as to what they want to do. Must decide, get advice, and build a reasonable solution so that your end customers or end users who come into the metaverse will never be left disappointed.
Okay. So, guys, as we are heading towards the end of our timing, so I'll quickly wrap this up. Uh, So, as we come towards the end of this webinar, I would like to thank our speakers for their time and expertise. I hope that this webinar has given our attendees some valuable insights and perspective on the future of Metaverse. We encourage you to stay connected with us and our speakers for more updates and resources on the topic. Thank you, everyone, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Yeah.
Bye bye.